everybody, and welcome to Explaining the Unexplainable. And I'm here with my amazing guest host who is back, Bishop Joshua Sparks. How are you today, sir?
I am doing wonderful. It's good to be back, and it's good to be here tonight. We're going to have a great program. I look forward to it.
I'm so glad you're here. I missed you last week, but we have
Missed you too.
an amazing friend and guest tonight. And I'm so happy that Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz from Paraflix TV, Disembodied Voices, her amazing top rated show on Paraflix, is here with us tonight. Hello there, Dr. Kelly.
Hey, Doctor.
Hello. Hi to both of you, Mercedes and Bishop Joshua. You've got so many titles. I don't know. Which one would you rather be called down there?
Just
Dr.
call me Josh.
Josh?
Yeah,
Bishop
Josh is fine.
Okay, Josh. If I can remember, things just kind of roll off the tongue here. So,
That's so funny. I just don't call him Josh. Oh my goodness. Okay, Josh. Josh. So this is so awesome, and I'm glad you got that cleared up for us, Dr. Kelly. I could be maybe calling that now too. Now that you kind of said that, I still call you Dr. Kelly, but we are on a show, so we have to be professional. So here we are, and I just want to say that I'm so excited because Dr. Kelly is actually a part of my documentary series that is hopefully going to be out to the public by this coming holiday. And she was a really big part in it, and she has been a really wonderful person as far as inspirational. Her work is inspirational. Her work ethic is inspirational. She was always kind to me, and like I'd call her and ask her questions, and she was always, you're so giving of yourself to others, that you're trying, I really love that about you. Some people might go, hey, no, but you always were there if I needed some advice or something. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. What is it
well,
that you're,
Mercedes, before you ask the first question, let me just say that I've known you for a couple of years now, and
more
one
now?
thing that might be more, yeah, might be around that. And, you know, uh, before you start giving accolades out, you have to understand how important you have been, and probably you too, there, Dr. Bishop Josh down there. But, just how important it is that you have such a positive attitude on everything. And I know it's really hard for people to keep that up once in a while because of how the world is. But put that accolade back onto yourself about where you've been and when we first met and where you are now. And you should just be very proud of all of the things that you've learned and accomplished too. So that's my shout back to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So I want to I know that the time goes so fast, and I know that Brother Joshua, do you have any question that you might want to ask Dr. Kelly?
Well, where do I begin? I mean, looking over her resume, it's just like, wow. Um, she has so much experience in so many different things. It's just, I don't know where to begin. It's an honor to be able to talk with her.
Mhm.
Um, you know, Probably 3 or 4 days ago, I took another video, and when I zoomed in on this video, I wish I could have the picture to share with you. Maybe I can send some of them to you.
Oh, okay.
Um, but it's a craft that I take a picture of and video of, and I see it often. And it almost like it pulsates, and it's white. And when you zoom in on it, you can actually see something in the middle of this white image. And I'm not sure exactly what it is. I see it all the time over top of my house. Um, and I've seen other people. Mercedes sent me a picture the other night um, because it looks exactly like what I've seen. Now, in your experience, what type of uh, crafts have you seen? What is the predominant craft that you see when you see UFOs, and when did you start seeing them?
All right. Well, I'm going to clarify something right off the bat here. I have never seen a craft, and but I'm going to tell you that I believe I've heard a craft, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that story and probably bring you into my world a little bit so you kind of understand where this started to evolve for me. So, I would say up until about 4 years ago. Yeah, about 4 years ago, I think. I went to a conference out in Las Vegas, and I was very curious about the paranormal side of things. And I never really believed in UFOs or extraterrestrials or anything like that. When I was growing up, as we maybe most of us had, you'd go to the grocery store, you'd be standing there in line, you'd look over to the left or right, and you would see these, what are they? These, we called them, I'm sorry, junk magazines. That's what we called them back then. And there'd be all kinds of things on the front cover and everything. And, I always just kind of went, what a way to sell a magazine. Well, I started having a lot of what I thought were paranormal experiences. And so at this conference, I had stood up and I had asked an expert speaker who was very well versed in UFOs and types of things that happen to people when they've had potentially an abduction. And I wasn't even going down that route. I just stood up, and I wanted to know all about paranormal. And I wanted to know if I was causing a lot of the things that I was experiencing. I was affecting electronics, I was affecting elevators, I was affecting all kinds of things around me. And I couldn't quite figure it out. So I started giving him some examples. And I said, now tell me, and I said this to him, tell me, am I doing this, or am I attracting something paranormal that's doing this for me? And he shut me up in about 1 second. He said, from the way that you describe your experiences, something tells me you have been abducted, your memory has been erased, and you have been in the presence of something more extraterrestrial or UFO-ish, because he said the number of people I have coming into my office telling me, this is what has happened to me, this is what I can do, this is really odd, how does this happen? And after they've been regressed and stuff, many of them have had some kind of contact with an interdimensional. Now, I'm going to bring this forward a little bit. It was at that point at that conference that I changed my attitude about whether or not UFOs were in fact real. Because I'll tell you that they may be in the skies above us at any point in time. We don't usually look up into the sky. That's not something we always do. We look at the clouds, we feel the air, and we go out about our day. But a lot of times, a lot of these UFO crafts can also be cloaked. And I've talked to a number of people who could not ever see them with their eyes, but yet they were there, or they've had an experience with them. And how they came to realize they might have been there is if they had binoculars that had something like an infrared or some kind of a filter on them, where when you looked through the binoculars, lo and behold, they could actually see something up there. Well, fast forward this a little bit. While on that, I don't know if it was that same trip, I used to go to Las Vegas to write my books. And so I would be in a very luxurious hotel because I got a lot of free rooms. I'm not afraid to say that to you, but I was up on the 60th floor of one of the hotels in Las Vegas when I was writing my book, and I was there alone. And I looked out the window and I said, gee, I wonder if I'm going to see a UFO tonight. I hope one flies past my window. That was the stupidest thing I could have ever said. But what happened? Yeah. As soon as I know, yeah, gee, I wish, right? Oh, there goes one. What am I supposed to do? Wave at it as it flies by? I mean, really, seriously?
Hit
Well,
your eyes.
anyway, yeah, or come up like this and like, oh, hello, and then go down like this, or even go up further like this, and it's like, what am I supposed to do then? So what happened though is what I that changed my attitude again was as soon as I turned around in that room, my lights started to flicker. Now, there's a difference between lights, electrical issues. There's a difference between something trying to talk to you and make contact. there's a difference. And I was in a highly electrical room because I was in a fancy hotel room where everything was malfunctioning. So now we have the curtains that won't close. We have the lights that are flickering, they go completely off. All the electric in my room went completely dead. I was sitting there in the dark and I was sitting on my bed. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't get anything on. It was absolutely kind of creepy. And I sat down on my bed and I heard right behind my back, which was adjacent to my bathroom, knock, knock. And I thought, oh, paranormal? Something here is paranormal. And then I blacked out. And I was, when I woke up, I completely blacked out. The next morning when I woke up, I felt really unusual. And it's like my theme of my show is be careful what you wish for, because honest to God, whatever I wished for that night wasn't probably paranormal. So long story short, I blacked out. I felt really weird the next morning. I felt really clean. It was like having an oil change, get rid of the bad blood, bring in some new fresh blood. I just felt so revived. Well, long story short, a couple months later, I was diagnosed with cancer. And that was something that kind of took me by surprise because I wasn't quite sure where that came from. And I don't have much of that account at all in my family. And so I was dealing with that at the time. I had a gal who was actually part of MUFON, who came over to my house because I was having a lot of interesting things happening in my house. And I'm going to get into that and still add to you what you're asking me about in just a moment about UFO activity. So she comes over and she's doing a reading for me, and she goes, "Oh, yeah, by the way," she said, "about 3 years ago or so, you had an encounter and some kind of a UFO type experience." And I thought, I have no idea what this woman is talking about. And so she says, "You were in a hotel room and they were there to check your blood." And because obviously, because I had cancer, they, by the way, did not give me cancer. They were there to get me prepared and ready for my surgery to get rid of the cancer. So it's kind of a long story. But then all of a sudden I just sat there and I said, I know what you're talking about. And that moment came back to me where I thought it was maybe paranormal, and then the blackout and the way I felt. Okay, now let's fast forward some more. So things were happening in my house that I could not explain. It was as if there were things coming through and into my house. So she recognized or identified two portals, one portal up in my bedroom, one portal somewhere else. And she said, "You've got them coming through these portals and they're coming through at different times." And I said, "What's coming through? What's coming into this house?" There's weird stuff. I'm talking things from things flying open to being whipped around, from hearing things being thrown across the room. The most prevalent one was up in my bedroom when one night at around 3 o'clock in the morning, when it sounded like, if any of you are familiar with Star Trek and remember, like on the, what is it, the platform, "Beam me up, Scotty," and then you'd hear that kind of noise. I was laying in my bed around 3 o'clock at night, and I could hear right above my head, literally in my room, that, 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 that. And I thought, well, where is that coming from? It was nothing mechanical was on. There was nothing. What could it have been, an echo from somewhere else? I'm not quite sure that. It was really in my room. And it sounded like doors had opened and doors had closed, but I'm not done yet. So I went to sleep because I thought it was all in my imagination. My husband and I went on vacation, and when we came back one day, we were downstairs and the living room was pitch dark. And I was bringing our luggage up the stairs, and something caught my eye. So I turned my head and I looked to the right, and right, seriously, as God is my witness, about this big, small little ball, like this big, cream colored, very much an orb, and it was hovering right next to this chair that I sat in all the time. It was just hovering and kind of like, but it was really big. And I turned and I looked, and as soon as I started focusing on it, it just dissolved, and I dropped the luggage, went to my husband. I said, "We've got company." And we have had in that house a lot of what is called those light orbs and intelligent ones, though. I'm not talking dust or moisture or anything like that. I'm talking very intelligent, very well constructed, very well movement, hitting things over in my room, which I took a video of something. In fact, I'm trying to find it again. It's lost amongst my stuff. But I've had all kinds of things. And then the handprint occurred, and we'll talk about that when you're ready to. But so my occurrences have been pretty much through an infrared camera, video camera, personally been touched and or something happening to me, visually seeing something very large and weird. That big orb. You don't ever see big orbs like that in your house. And so those are the types of things that I attribute to extraterrestrial interdimensional life, including the handprint and then the dream, which we can talk about when you're ready for that. So
Awesome.
there,
Well,
did
I
I give
think
you enough to go on?
yeah, that's really awesome. I have a Stan has a picture of it. It's the great big zoomed in version of this orb or portal or whatever it is in the sky that I took a picture of. If Stan can pull it up here so we all can take a look at it. Look at that. There's the
Yeah.
It's got layers to it. I mean, if you can
Yeah.
look, there's a little tiny center point, and then there's an outer layer, and then there's a an even farther out layer of this. Um, and I'm not sure what it is. I mean, it pulsates. It has a pulsating uh, portion to the body of this craft or whatever it is. And I know it's not a star. I mean, we've all looked at stars through telescopes, and um, this isn't a star. Um, so
So what I'm picking up on here, I'm studying it. Is this is directly outside your house, above your house?
yes, hmm
So this is very unusual because there are yes, I do see the multi layers, and I also see color. Do you see the colors in it?
Yeah, and you know what? I can actually, if you tune into it, you can actually feel something coming just from that image.
Yeah,
Do you feel
yeah,
that?
yeah. I know I do. There's one person that might be able to that I could probably suggest. I don't know if she would be able to pull something up from this, but I'm going to add to this. Keep that up there just for a moment. So, when I started noticing orbs in my house, these light orbs but like I said, not dust or anything like that, very controlled, very obvious that they were there studying a person. And there might be two people actually that might be able to explain this. Number one, I had someone on Mercedes, you remember, um, Dale White. Now I don't know his story
Yeah, yeah,
lately. I know, yeah, you and I had talked a long time ago about him, but I don't know where he's at right now. He was always
yeah.
known as this orbologist, right? And but he led me to this woman that I never contacted. Her name is Marlena Marcan. She's in Australia, and she has the ability to take orbs and pull the layers off of them to be able to see what's inside of them. She has that ability. She's got a very special technique. She will not disclose it, but she's number one that I would think about. Number two would be my friend who's going to be on the show in a few weeks. She might know something about this because she makes contact with CE5 types of images or orb images or UFO type craft like this. She does this all the time. She's got an ability to be able to speak to them and talk to them. She would be another person that might be able to offer up some suggestions or guidance on that. But what makes this very unique is it's not like sometimes they have a ring around and then it's more solid. But this is very interesting because you can see the ring in the middle kind of before it goes to the other layer. Did you ever have this investigated by anybody or looked at?
no, I mean I started seeing them back when COVID hit when
Mm,
COVID at the height of COVID, and
yeah.
being raised in a very religious family in a very religious part of the country,
Yeah.
it's taboo to talk about UFOs, especially
I
as a
know.
bishop.
Yeah.
I've been in ministry 33 years, and as a bishop, that's no, don't talk
Yeah.
about that because of the perceived contradiction with the scripture, the threat to the uniqueness of humanity, or the fear of deception, or the association with science fiction or government conspiracies or theological discomfort that it causes. But I've often told my colleagues, hey, listen, just because the Bible doesn't mention airplanes or the internet doesn't mean they're not real.
Right.
So, the same logic I think applies to UFOs. I have a video too of this same craft. If Stan wants to, it's kind of in
Yeah.
the distance, but you get a gist of the video.
Okay.
There's
Was this
also,
out?
there's also a picture
Oh,
to Stan. Can you hear me?
okay. Now I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's also a picture that I sent to Stan. It's of a triangular craft that I've seen many times over top of my house, and you can see the three lights, the 3 points of light. And I've zoomed in with my phone. I need to get better equipment. I don't have no cameras or nothing like that. I'm kind of an old fashioned doc. I'm an old fashioned kind of guy, and I'm starting to learn, all these new tricks and these new social media platforms. And my kids are geniuses when it comes to that. But if I had my way about it, I'd still preach and record it on cassette. I love 8 tracks, and I love 45s and 78s, and all those things that we grew up with as kids. Um, but
Do you realize, not to interrupt, but do you realize that some of the older equipment does a better job of capturing this stuff than the newer equipment? One of the things that people don't realize, I kind of sort of am, but kind of not. I used to be a wedding photographer, and I was always worried about capturing all these unusual orbs that were showing up in my pictures and stuff. And then I started buying better equipment, and one of the things that I learned along the way was depending on what type of filter you have in your camera and or your video device or whatever you're using can also filter out some of the stuff that normally would might be captured and seen otherwise. When I started capturing orbs, believe it or not, I started capturing them with a disposable camera. I used to call it the
wow,
sandwich effect. Click, click, click. Three in a row, really fast in a room with highly sensitive film, and that would capture what I thought was in there. These orbs that were usually at the time they're traveling kind of more like on the ceiling line or way down low because they thought that they couldn't get captured. Well, I proved that theory wrong. You can get captured. They didn't realize that. So before you go running out to buying all kinds of expensive equipment, be careful about the type of filters you have on those lens and everything, because that's really what's going to dictate what you can see and what you can't see. So just keep that in mind.
okay. Yeah, when we walked out on the porch during COVID, my dad, my youngest son, and myself, and my dad's like, "What in the world is
Mhm.
that?"
Mhm.
And we just started
Mhm.
taking video on our phones of these pulsating lights and these orbs and these crafts doing things that regular airplanes just can't do. Helicopters cannot do. Even our military jets can't zigzag as fast as these craft were going. And my dad, as hardcore as he is when it comes to being a Christian, the other day told me that he saw in the daytime sky a craft and it
Mhm.
turned very
Mhm.
slowly. So it looked like something you'd see on a science fiction movie.
Mhm.
We've seen these things now for the last probably 4 or 5 years, and now we have these platforms to come on here and talk about it. But I've always been intrigued by UFOs, and of course I've seen Bigfoot, and I've always been intrigued by the cryptozoology, and Mothman, and all the various monsters here in the local area. Of course, I grew up listening to Art Bell all night long. We stayed up all night to listen to Coast to Coast. And Art talked about all those things. It was taboo for us to talk about, at church youth group, or sitting around the campfire at the church, But now there's a whole platform that's opened up, and everybody's talking about it. Nobody's afraid to talk about it anymore. It's not taboo anymore.
Not to a believer, but maybe to a skeptic, they will still attempt to bust holes in somebody's ideas or theories. You'll always have the skeptic.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, there's, until you've experienced it,
right.
There's skeptics no matter what you experience in life. I always tell my story about when I was called to preach. It's different and unique than everybody else's. And when I was called to preach, I actually seen Jesus face to face, just like I'm looking at you, and talked with him. I felt his embrace, and we had that communication, So, I mean, it's unique, it's different, but everybody's experience is different. But, you mentioned these, whoever they are, they come to check your blood, and you mentioned about having cancer. What do you think their purpose in coming was to you? Was it to let you know that there's somebody out there that's greater than you, that's watching you, that's there to help you or to assist you in a certain way? Or are you part of them? Are they part of you? Are you from the stars?
So let's see. How can I break this down for you? Yeah, here we go. Are you ready to take a ride with me?
Hey, Doc, I've got my seatbelt on.
We're all in the convertible, and let your hair flow, boy. So I had many theories about who I am. And I never thought I was anything special for my life. I just thought I could do things a little differently, or I had more insight compared to most people at certain times. And so I would call myself a citizen researcher, and I've been on a journey to figure out who I am for a very long time. In fact, just before this interview, I was talking with a neighbor, and I disclosed who I was, and they were absolutely shocked. And I said, yeah, I have a tendency to attract a lot of children, and ghost children, and I seem to have an effect on all kinds of dogs for some reason. And I had a previous neighbor ask me, are you a starseed? And I thought, what the heck is a starseed? So then I had to go look that up, and I had to start to read about what people's opinions and theories and ideas were about being a starseed. And by the way, I had just heard a conversation. Once in a while, I have enough time to catch a conversation of somebody, and this gentleman was actually talking about how there's a lot of starseeds being born into our planet right now for various reasons, and I just was amazed by the percentage of that. But to get back to your question on who I am and what I am, I'm not quite sure, because you asked, what do you think the purpose was? Well, I think that moment was healing. I've almost died a couple times in my life, and I've been miraculously healed, including where the COVID ended up over here. I'm completely healed here, which I was told would probably not go away for a very long time, but it's gone. And there's a long story with that handprint and the dream that I had. I think one of the things too, which I never thought in a million years, I've been in law for several years. I've been done all kinds of careers. I've been teaching. I taught for over 20 years, but I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would be having 2 podcasts and a TV show and interviewing people from all over the planet and talking about this topic right here. But I was having so many things happen to me that I could not stop and deny it anymore. I had to start to figure this out. So one of the things I think I am, although I'm not positive about it, is I think I'm an additional voice to the collective to bring forth a topic that even in my own hometown would go turn the other way, because there's a lot of conservative skeptics out there that just do not want to touch this subject. And I'm not afraid anymore because I'm retired, and it's been the most freeing experience for me to just talk about some of these things that are going on that we can't readily identify what it possibly could be. There were times in my life I always blamed everything on spiritual. When I grew up, it was the demon or an angel that came to you and you had some kind of situation. Only two elements. Then, as time went on, that when I started having lots of experiences and then seeing apparitions in the window and this and that and photographing and all these kind of things happening to me, I said, you know what? I don't think it's a demon or something like that anymore. But what is it? Is it spiritual? Is it paranormal? Which I mean, ghostly? Is it extraterrestrial, interdimensional, otherworldly? What are we experiencing here? And so that is the question that I am continuing to run after all these years. I don't know if we'll ever get close, but I do know, and I'm going to be interviewing a man on my show very soon who has the ability to do a technique to bring forth into a mist the face of an apparition that could potentially be in your room. It's remarkable work. It's unbelievable. And I'll be talking to him soon, so I don't know much about it. So there you have it. I don't know. It's just, I have no idea what I am. I just know that part of my purpose right now, anyway, and until that changes, is to be a voice with the collective. That's all I know.
Wow.
I think also, it's very interesting when you were talking. You're talking about the handprint, and I do think that you should talk about that because in the images of your book, a lot of your posters, you have the red handprint. And what's interesting
Mhm.
about the red handprint is I actually for a poster, it was in 2020, so it was after. It was I just found it here actually. Um, and I put a red handprint on that because one of the visuals I had seen probably a year prior to that was a Native American. It was what I believe was Crazy Horse, but one of the images I saw of him was a teepee, and he was standing by it, and I was looking and observing in remote view, and I'm like, there's a red handprint on that teepee. And so I just always, and I drew it. And then when I went to go look it up, I looked up some stuff and there it was. That was the symbol that they would use for their tribe was the red handprint, and they would paint that on their teepees. But I didn't know that. So when I first saw your red handprint, that's what I just assumed that we were kismet like that. But yeah, so go ahead and let's talk about that handprint and how that manifested with you.
Okay, so here I'm having these experiences, right? And I'm attracting the paranormal, and maybe I was attracting something more interdimensional and I didn't really know it at the time and was trying to put my pieces together. I work a lot. Mercedes knows this. I work night and day, literally. And because I do many things, writer, TV show producer, I'm everything. And I went to bed around 2 a.m. for about that. And I laid down in bed. And you know how you are. You just kind of try to get comfortable. Now, most of us that might be women, you lay there forever because you can't ever fall asleep. So then you try, yeah, you count backwards. Sometimes sheep don't work, by the way. And so, but I had all of a sudden in the location where the MUFON psychic person showed me in our room right above my bed, she said there was a portal. And I thought, oh, that's creepy, right? But that's where a lot of this orb activity was always coming in from too. And so I smelled this really absolutely horrendous holy smoke smell. And I thought it was my husband's shampoo. I really did. And I turned over and I kind of did the little sniff, and I thought, geez, Louise, this is really horrible. And of course, the man gets blamed for everything, and we love it. And that's how it works. But anyway, so,
Thank you
when
for
all,
admitting that.
I know, sorry to, sorry to bury you under the rug like that, but no mercy from me. So anyway,
I love
um,
it.
so I smelled this, and it was so bad, though. I mean, it smelled like something deceased, something like rose watery. Now, one person, some people would say, yeah, I know. They would say, well, was it some kind of an apparition? And it's like, I don't think so. It was something maybe disguised differently, because I pulled the covers over my nose. I could hardly stand it anymore. The next morning, you know what we do? We get up, we go to the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror, and right here, upside down, it was upside down though, there was a handprint, blood purple red, embedded in my chest right here, elongated fingers. One of them though was obviously crooked, but it was crooked in a way that was really suspicious. It was like it's that crooked finger that gave it away. And so some people asked me, well, was it your own hand? I said no, because it was almost upside down. So I had about five. Then I was on a mission. So I went downstairs and I said to my husband, look, look, there's a handprint on my body. And he was just absolutely taken back. And it took 3 hours for it to actually disappear. It didn't dissolve, disappear. It just was here. And then it was boop, gone. So it was like there was no fading of it at all. So then I had to go on a mission to figure out, how did this handprint get on my body and why was it here? Keep in mind, I had COVID pneumonia and COVID, regular pneumonia and COVID pneumonia at the same time. I was dying. I had it for 8 months. They were working to keep me alive. Trust me, I went through everything. And then they said right here where the handprint was, they said there's a clog, and that's COVID pneumonia. There's a clog. And it's like, what it resembles is like, I've put a lot of little dandruff pieces together and flaking off and then building some kind of a, like a clog. And they said, you know what? You're going to have to suck that out with a spirometer, and it's going to take you a very long time to get that out. You've got a clog in there. All right, fast forward. So I kept asking the universe, who put it on my body? Come forward, tell me. I went to 5 psychics. They all had different reasons. It's an old woman's hand. Maybe, but I don't think so. Succubus. I've had succubuses on me before. No, I don't think so. Your own hand. Nope, you're wrong on that one. Then I had a guy, he said, some kind of alien. And I thought, well, you're onto something. And then I had one say it was a mantis being. Now, mantis beings are healers. And so if you ever look up mantis beings, don't be afraid of them. There probably are some mean ones, but this one, that I thought for the longest time it was a mantis being. So fast forward, I still wasn't quite sure who put that handprint on my body. And then I had a dream. And then I think the answer came to me. So about a yearish or so down the road, keep in mind I still had the clog here. I dreamt of a young gal who I thought was my husband's cousin's daughter. And I thought, oh, interesting. I'm watching my husband's cousin daughter in my dream, walking away from me. And I saw the back, and it looked like a regular human body. But then this thing slowly turned around and started to look at me. And what it had on was a black COVID mask over here, huge, big ant mantis being grays type eyes, hair pulled down, and I absolutely freaked out. And so I started screaming. I woke up, I was full of sweat. I was absolutely terrified, and I started screaming out, whatever you were, whatever you are, do not ever come near me again. And don't ever. And I have never seen it again. But I asked for an answer, and I think I'm close. So it's either between a mantis being or a gray that disguised itself. And I managed to find an image image of an interdimensional somewhere online, which I show at the conferences when I give my presentations. I show the picture and I say, now put the gray face with this image here. And that's what I saw in my dream with the black COVID mask. And that's how that, and the black COVID mask actually came to this. And that's why the healing, I'm completely healed. There's nothing there anymore. And so I have been healed more than once in my lifetime. And so something is keeping me around for now to share my stories. And I think it's very interesting. So yeah. Did that help you? Did that answer your question?
And the upside down handprint is
Like this.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's very, the whole thing is just, yeah, that, and the dream, the fact that you had that dream. I mean, that's
Hmm.
how they do. That happens a lot. All of a sudden, and then when they walk up to you, and you're just like, but you knew how
Hmm.
to handle it, so that was good. You knew
Yeah.
how to say go, leave,
Yeah. Go away. Yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
think about that, brother Joshua? What do you think about that?
Well, an upside down handprint, that is really wild. I mean,
Like
it's
this.
almost like it was coming out of you.
Okay. So then I had somebody else,
Ooh.
I talked to somebody else about that. And the next theory, which was number 6, came in. They thought that I was talking. If you recognize Dolly and Preston Dennett, I talked with them about it because they seem to know an awful lot. Obviously, they're very renowned for this. And he thought that whatever it was actually touching me. You're kind of right there, Dr. Joshua, coming at me, pushing its hand into my back from behind, but
Oh,
in a way though where the imprint came from the other side. It was kind of weird. And I never thought of that because I
oh
don't,
my God.
yeah, coming through me, but in a different
Oh,
way.
through
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it came through me.
Wow.
Yeah. So I can't explain it. All I do is I ask questions and see if I can somehow put the better pieces together. Yeah.
That
It's pretty
that's I
fascinating.
don't know. That kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies, but that makes sense. It's coming
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
you.
It came through me. Yeah.
And thank God you healed from cancer, though,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm healed. And I'm healed from COVID pneumonia. There's no blockage anymore in there. It's gone completely. And it went out faster than what it was anticipated to be. So, are there healings in this world? Yes, there are. I'm a living testament to a few of them, and it's remarkable. And how I think I've got some of my abilities were probably through the experiences of trauma, because I've had lots of litty bitty little traumas and some little bigger shock traumas. But there's things that make me light up like a lighthouse. So I'm always open for business, as they say. So they come to me, flashing on, constantly open for business. Yeah, I know. It's an interesting life. Yeah.
Well, talk about Paraflix TV and how you got involved with that in your
Hmm.
show.
Well, I was at a conference a few years back, and I was just essentially showcasing myself. And there was a person there that had a booth for Paraflix, and it was the owner and the creator of it. And I didn't even talk to her. I wrote her after the fact, and I asked her if she would be interested in having me do a talk show for her, because I knew that that was one thing I could do. And she gave me a trial run, and then I landed. I'm at a full for 18 seasons. I'm running season 16 right now. I'm completely full for 18 seasons. I'm incredibly popular. People do contact me all the time wanting to be on the show, which is a gift to me, so I don't have to work so hard at finding people. And
Yeah.
essentially, yeah, and we talk about everything. We talk about cryptids, we talk about UFOs, we talk about energy, we talk about things that have happened to you, Mercedes. We talk about everything, exorcism, and stuff. By the way, I have also levitated a few times in my life. Literally, people are like, "Can you levitate?" Can people levitate? Yes, as a matter of fact, they can, because I have. And so there's something that there's little bits that I'm researching as we go along. But anyway, Paraflix is a great TV show, not just a TV show. It has all kinds of content, documentaries and movies and all sort of things, and lots of stuff there that people might be interested in. But like I said, Mercedes, you should. I can't remember. Did I run you already? I had you on a couple times, and so yeah, Dr. Joshua, we should get you on. Dr. Adrian was on. He was very interesting, and so was Archbishop Enright. He was on too. So
Yeah.
really,
And then
yeah,
you had our friend Jason,
McLeod.
Jason McLeod. He was
Yep.
on, and so everybody, and I just think you do such a fantastic job with your interviewing and the visual and everything. And I think it's a really great what you're doing. And yeah, you're pretty remarkable. Okay, I think you're pretty remarkable. What do you
As
think?
you was telling your story about the handprint, I was thinking it was reminded me of like some kind of science fiction show where they were like performing a surgery on like your energy field or your chakra, doing some kind of work inside of you. It's pretty fascinating. I mean, it just wow.
I can add to that. So on the same side of my bed, where all this activity seems to happen. I don't know if anyone has ever had their brain, I'm not going to use the word sizzle, but sizzle. So vibrate really fast. I have had moments where I've had incredible vibration on literally half of this side of my head. And I would lay there and I would say to myself, what is going on with me? What's happening with me? Why are they is something doing something to me? Am I having a health issue that I need to be aware of? So I will literally lay there when things happen and I would start asking questions. But because that house was so active and I even saw a wisp, I call it a wisp, about 2 feet tall, black, rush from the bathroom area wall to into my husband's office. And most people would say, oh my God, that would scare me. Well, it startled me, but because I have this stuff around me so much, I have had some very traumatic experiences investigating to the
Yeah.
point where it's almost like that fear has been knocked out of me. So, yeah, I just kept going down to my office. That's all. But I've had a lot of experiences. I captured a shadow person on my birthday in a now haunted train car that used to be a dining car back in 1907. They turned it into a bed and breakfast. I captured it on my birthday. I felt something in the hallway, and then I used my camera and I put it on night vision, and there was no flash, and it was at 3200 ISO, and I went click click click, and lo and behold, there it was. And it was a female. I filtered it. Female looking at my shadow on the wall. And it had long brown hair and a coat on. And it was obviously female. But you know what? If it would have turned around and showed me its face, I probably would have absolutely run out of that train car and I would not have stayed there the night. So, even as an investigator, someone with a lot of experience, you still get scared, of things that happen. And little children love to startle me all the time with playing hide and seek of many little things that I have. And they know my reaction. They love it. So they like to get a rise out of a person, but it's fun. I'm not saying it's fun. It's fascinating. That's what I want to say, what I do. But
Yeah, and that's what she talks about because of all the interaction with the children here. Brother Joshua is Dr. Kelly is talking about the like how I wanted experts.
Mhm.
So she was our expert about talking about spirit children because that's something we have here. And what's amazing about you, Dr. Kelly, that gives I think what you have such credibility in the world being a teacher and all the I mean you were a professor actually. So you have this life that you had before any of this ever happened. Similar to me, I really didn't have that many paranormal experiences till later. But I think that's why when you talk, people are like, okay, she's not BSing us. She's like telling the truth here because you don't. I mean, it's you understand. It's so interesting. Like you're such a credible witness.
Yeah.
It's like nobody really could. I'm sure people maybe have made you feel in the past that you were lying or not telling the truth, or
Mm.
because that's what they do to all of us. We just mentioned that a minute ago. But
No,
and
Mercedes, what they do is they've never done that to me, but
okay,
when I first started out though, when I had my very first interview with a very high profiled individual, very low profile, I didn't know who this individual was. I thought that they were going to attack me. I thought they were going to make fun of me and my stories. And I mean, it took me a lot to write that first book. And because I also not only was a college professor, I was also working in law for several years. And, you get trained differently depending on what you're doing in your life and how you think and all that sort of thing. And honest to God, I just didn't ever want anyone try to mock me. For example, I'll give you a good example. I just predicted for the fourth time the winner of the Kentucky Derby. And I don't know if anyone follows my Facebook page or whatever. I did, and I only saw the horses for about 10 seconds as they were all walking in. And I pointed to my husband. I said, that one. But the day before, I was interviewing somebody on my show, and I had a yellow flash go into my head. And he kept saying to me, well, which one do you think it'll be? And I said, I see yellow. That's all I kept saying. I see yellow, yellow. And there were many things that had yellow, but when they came in, I had to do process of elimination. And so I had one guy on a show once, he was in the chat room, and basically he was sitting there going, well, if she's so good, then why isn't she a millionaire? Well, how do you know that I'm not? First of all. And secondly, yeah, I mean, don't sit and think that you don't know who you're dealing with. But the
It's
thing
true.
is whether that's the case or not, you have your skeptic, you have your denier, I don't even engage in conversations with skeptics because it's absolutely pointless until they've had their own experiences that they absolutely cannot explain. You just can't convince them of anything of this sort. So be it, right? Everybody seems to be on a different time schedule. So yeah.
I agree with you. I don't engage. And when I was younger, I thrived off that,
Mhm.
debating with people. But I just
Yeah.
got to the point where I don't have time to do it no more.
Yeah. It's not.
I'm not going to waste my breath
Mm-hmm.
debating with people because I know what I've experienced, and
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to continue to explore the things that I've experienced and
Mm-hmm.
try to find explanations to
Mm-hmm.
the things that are unexplainable. And
Right.
you're very fascinating. I could sit and listen to you talk all night long.
My husband does, and he would disagree with you. So
That wasn't a ghost that just walked by. That was my
yeah, what
son.
was that a black shadow that I just saw on the corner of my eye walk behind you? I'm
Yeah, that
like,
was my
see,
son.
oh, and by the way, I have had when I interview people, there have been orbs showing up on screen, circling around them, going into their haunted dolls. I've got all kinds of things that happen literally on these interviews. So your presence must be holding everything at bay because last night I was trying to tell my story of the black-eyed kids to a gentleman who interviewed me from the United Kingdom, and twice on the very same topic and the very same dialogue when I was explaining the black-eyed kids, it froze. It just would not let me get out my story of what these experiences were with these black-eyed kids. And so that's what I'm telling you. It's like sometimes something is intervening even on our video shows like this.
yeah. It's pretty neat though because I do feel like this show with Brother Joshua, I feel like we got that extra protection. And when we're on the unseen realm, we are always having interference, aren't we,
Oh, absolutely.
Joshua?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
it's
Mm-hmm.
part of the territory.
Yeah. I
Uh,
want to tell you that when we first started with the show, Bishop Joshua, Dr. Kelly was saying some really nice things that she had really looked at what the unseen realm was. And she would, you tell me that you had never seen a show like that, that you kind of looked of the format. I thought that
Mhm.
was pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, what I like about your show and I like about many of the different types of shows out there is what I really, really hope and strive for. And I think either I'm following the right people or I'm not, but I like the fact that people are inquiring with questions about things and they're not, because there's really no such thing as an expert, really, because we're all still learning. If we're all experts, an expert is somebody who can do something that perhaps the majority of the world, the majority cannot do. So in a way, it makes you kind of an expert. But so that label used to get thrown around a lot as, oh, there's an expert. And I've noticed that people have started to back away from that a little bit and called people more experiencers and or really, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And I think that what I love about the panel of our experts is that they are
Hmm.
open to saying, what do you think about that? Well,
Hmm.
they're open to what could that be? And I think that that's
Hmm.
what's the fun thing about this show and what you represent is always what is it? What is
Hmm.
it? You're searching for the answers.
Hmm.
Tell us what you're doing now. Like, what are your plans for the rest of the year? You've got to finish with your guests, but whatever your upcoming events.
Yep. So right now I'm working on my 12th book called Phenomena, Unexplained Happenings, which covers majority of the phenomena I can think about, from your Mothman, your Sasquatch, your UFOs, everything, your little black-eyed children and or teens. That's one thing I'm working on. I'm also working on a self-reflection book called, and it's almost done, and I'm going to get it published here shortly, called it's Shadows of Silence, Truth of Avoidance, which is more of a self-reflection as to why people go into silence and or avoidance. And it's not really paranormal related, but it has something to have people take a look at themselves and the insight you gain from. There's a big thing that I'm noticing right now, that people are wanting to withdraw from interacting with people in society. And I'm hearing that a lot. So I decided to write this book. I have a children's film that is still being worked on, but it's coming along very nicely, called Maynard and Mildred. And I am the Mildred and my husband's the Maynard. And it's a children's video and it's a film, and it's very fun. It's kind of Charlie Brownish, but it's absolutely fun. And he's doing a great job for me. I have a conference coming up in October in Rock Island, Illinois, and I'm going to be presenting. I'm one of the keynote speakers this year there, and perspectives on unexplained happenings, or experiences, I should say. And so I've got all that going on. And then in addition to all of the interviewing and all that keeps me really busy, I'm going to be traveling a lot, and we'll probably have some more experiences because I'm staying in castles in Europe coming up here in the next week and all that. And I'm sure I will have some type of experience by the time I get back. So I'm busy. Yeah, I'm busy.
What a fun rest of the year.
Yep. Yeah. And we just started at Mercedes. We just started the year. Yeah.
Wow.
Look where we are now. We're almost to June, for God's sakes.
I
Oh,
know.
I know.
226 days till Christmas.
I know that. I know.
no,
I
that's
know.
crazy.
I
I wrote
know.
that on the board. I'm a therapist. I teach clinical. I work in a rehabilitation facility where we're a dual diagnosis facility. We take care of people that have addiction problems and mental health issues. And I drew a Christmas tree on the board today and put 226 days, and they were all giving me a hard time. What are you doing, Dr. Josh? Why are you putting that on there? I like to aggravate people.
Well, do you realize here in July, it's Christmas in July all the time? I mean,
Hmm.
I think they have, so far, they haven't really moved it up to June yet. So we're still at July for Christmas here. So it's amazing.
It is.
Wow. Wow. Well, I'm just so happy you were on with us tonight.
Oh, it's
This
wonderful.
this
She's
was
got to come
fun.
back. She has to come back. If you get time, I know you got to sleep sometime. So if you get time in between all your travels and stuff to come back, we would love to have you back.
Oh, I love
Absolutely
to be come
fascinating.
back, and I can tell you my black-eyed kid stories, and
Yeah,
yeah, I have many, many stories. Stuff that will keep you up at night, probably. So yeah,
yeah.
I'd be happy to come back.
That'd be awesome.
The new book, that sounds so awesome. Both of them, they really sound awesome. I'm excited to read those.
How can we get your books?
Yeah.
Okay, so those aren't ready yet, but they will be, coming up here. They'll be on Amazon, and you can go to my website and really take a look at my biography, and then scroll all the way down, and you will actually see the covers of these books, and you'll get a good feel for what's inside of them. And that's www.paranormaluniversalpress.com. And if you just go there, you can also, if you're interested in guests such as Mercedes and Dr. Josh, we should have you as well. There's a little tab called Podomatic. Click on it. Subscribing is free. And when these episodes are done, I post them, and they're very interesting too. So, and if you want, go to Paraflix, www.paraflixx.com, and you have a 3-day free trial. Go down to talk shows. You'll see me on there with, like I said, we're on season 16. I'm already filled up for 18. And so, yeah, so that's how you can pretty much, and I'm on Facebook. Feel free to friend me, and you can see some of the things that I'm doing and the guests that'll be on.
Awesome. Well, I was going to try to put it on the comments, but I didn't realize I was sending you all private chat of your your web addresses that you just gave. So
Yep.
Mercedes, can you put them on YouTube or
Oh,
put them
yeah.
on there? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good
See,
idea.
I'm not very tech savvy, Doc. I apologize.
No, I see them there and the private chat. No, that's great. Those are, I was just reading, they're perfect. So if anyone's in the chat or seeing this, that's perfect. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Yeah, I see. Oh, I see something there. But yeah, I can add some more. Thank you, Stan. Stan's doing that. We appreciate you, Stan. All right. Well, thank you everybody for if you were here watching tonight with us, and we thank you when you're going to watch later, because I know you're all going to be watching later too. So we thank you. And do you want to do a little prayer for us tonight, Bishop Joshua, so we can have some
Yeah.
prayer as we close?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's pray. Eternal God, the creator of heaven and earth and all things in between, we thank you for your love, for your mercy. We thank you that as we come to the end of this day, that you've given us grace and mercy. We ask that you give us peace tonight as we sleep. Wake us up tomorrow, oh God. Make it a journey and an adventurous day full of uh, excitement and full of adventure and full of love and peace and healing. And help us, God, to be a light to all those in this world who are in darkness, that we might bring hope and help to them. And God, we pray that you unite us together as a people, as a race. God, and that you would heal all the sicknesses in the world, that you would calm all wars, and that you would bring all people together for the common good of all men. We ask all these things in the name of Christ, your Son. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kelly. You're awesome.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Kelly. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Come back.